She had it all. The vision board, the affirmations, the crystals lined neatly on her desk, the late-night journaling sessions whispering to the universe for a sign. She read every book, listened to every podcast, tried every method that promised alignment. And yet every morning she woke with that quiet ache, a subtle anxiety hiding beneath her breath. The question that hummed under every ritual: why isn't it working? Why don't I feel it yet? Sound familiar? Maybe not in the details, but in essence, yes. Because we've all fallen into the same spiritual trap disguised as wisdom. Seek, and you shall find. But what if the very act of seeking is the reason you never find? What if the moment you search, you send a signal to the quantum field saying, "It's not here yet," and the field is ever faithful, mirrors that back as absence? That's the hidden glitch in almost every manifestation practice. The silent assumption that you are separate from what you desire, that it exists somewhere out there and waiting to be found. But here's the truth no one tells you. The search creates the distance. It affirms the lack. And in the quantum universe, what you affirm, you receive. This isn't another video about how to look for your dream life, as it's about remembering that what you're looking for is already looking back. Because there's a shift more powerful than any ritual, more magnetic than any affirmation. And that shift is this: stop searching. Become the observer. Take a breath. Let that land. There's a reason that when you finally stop trying, things start aligning. When you surrender, you receive. When you stop chasing, the outcome arrives effortlessly. It's not luck. It's not divine delay. It's resonance, because the moment you stop searching, you leave the vibration of not having. You become still, present, aware. And it's in that stillness, in the state of pure observation, that the quantum field begins to respond. The shift is subtle but radical. You move from the identity of the seeker, the one who lacks, into the identity of the observer, the one who knows. And that knowing, that inner alignment, is what collapses potential into form. But let's get honest. That's not how most people live. That's not how you were taught to approach life. From the moment we enter this world, we're trained to chase, to achieve, to hustle. We learn to look outside of ourselves for love, success, peace, and eventually even our spirituality becomes another form of striving. You meditate to get calm. You journal to attract abundance. You visualize to manifest the future. But in the background of all of that is the silent belief: I am not it yet. That's what the search is really saying. And that's what the quantum field hears. So let's flip the lens. What if the truth is not that you need to find anything, but that you need to observe differently? Because in the quantum world, attention is everything. It's not passive, it's creative. Scientists have proven that the mere act of observation influences the behavior of particles. That's not metaphysics, that's physics. And it means that your consciousness doesn't just witness reality, it selects it. So when you stop searching and you start observing, not with desperation, but with presence, you begin to access the real power behind all transformation: awareness without attachment. This is the sacred posture of the observer. The observer doesn't grasp. The observer doesn't force. The observer witnesses and allows the wave of potential to collapse into an aligned experience. Think of it like this: if searching is a clenched fist, observing is an open palm. And what do you think the universe places gifts into? You don't attract with effort. You attract with coherence, with alignment between your inner state and the version of reality you choose to perceive. And perception begins with presence, with stillness, with stepping back, not chasing forward. This isn't passivity, it's mastery. Because to observe without rushing, without grasping, without doubting takes strength. It takes trust. And most of all, it takes a redefinition of who you think you are. Because the seeker is always becoming, but the observer already is. So here's the invitation. For the next few minutes, let yourself stop, not just physically, but vibrationally. Let go of the need to get somewhere. Drop the story that says your dream life is out there, and begin to explore the idea that it might be right here, hidden behind a layer of misperception. In the next chapter, we'll look at the science that proves this. We'll unpack how your observation literally changes the behavior of the universe, and how the act of searching pushes your desires further into probability, while observing brings them into form. But for now, pause. Let this truth echo. What you're looking for is looking back, and it sees you now. To understand the power of becoming the observer, we need to enter a world most people never see, not because it's hidden, but because it's so subtle, so foundational, that it often goes unnoticed. It's the quantum world, the invisible backdrop of our reality, where every possibility exists until something, or someone, chooses to look. This is not philosophy, it's physics. In the early 20th century, physicists discovered something that shattered everything we thought we knew about how reality works. They realized that at the subatomic level, particles don't behave like tiny billiard balls. They behave like waves of probability, existing not in one location but in many simultaneously. A particle, like an electron, doesn't have a fixed position. It exists in a state of potential. It could be here or there or nowhere. It exists as a cloud of possibilities, a smear of probability, until something extraordinary happens. It's observed. And the moment that observation occurs, the wave collapses into a particle. It becomes fixed, local, real. This phenomenon is known as the observer effect, and it reveals something both mystifying and incredibly empowering. The very act of looking determines what becomes real. Let that sink in. Before you look, infinite potential. When you look, one reality chosen by your observation. Physicist Werner Heisenberg, one of the fathers of quantum mechanics, put it this way: what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. In other words, reality doesn't simply exist waiting to be discovered. It is actively shaped by the way we interact with it, and by who we are when we look. Now let's bring this out of the lab and into your life. If the universe is made of quantum particles, and those particles respond to observation, then your consciousness, your awareness, is not just a passive witness. It's a creative force. Every time you observe something with intention, attention, and expectation, you are participating in the construction of that reality. This is why the role of the observer is sacred. But here's what most people miss. The quality of your observation matters. Are you observing from lack? From doubt? From neediness? Then your attention collapses a version of reality that reflects that frequency. You don't just observe something. You observe from a state. And the field responds to that. This is why searching backfires. Because when you're searching, you're observing from absence. You're looking for something that you believe is missing. And your observation collapses a version of the world where that thing remains missing. Not because you're being punished, but because your observation is filtered through identity. And that identity broadcasts, I don't have it yet. That's what the field responds to. This is also where modern science begins to echo ancient wisdom. Quantum physicist John Wheeler, who worked closely with Einstein, once said, "No phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon." And mystics, long before quantum theory, spoke of the world as illusion, Maya, shaped by the observer's mind. Neville Goddard said, "You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. What you are, vibrationally, emotionally, neurologically, determines what your observation selects." Think of your awareness like a quantum camera. Wherever you point it, you're capturing a snapshot, not of what's out there, but of what matches your internal settings. The lens of your identity, your beliefs, your assumptions, that's what focuses the image. So here's the shift. If you want to change what shows up, you don't chase the outcome, you change the observer. Because when you change, your observation changes. And when your observation changes, the wave collapses into a new reality, one that was already there, waiting for you to choose it. The power is not in looking harder, it's in looking differently. In the next chapter, we're going to explore why so many of us fall into the trap of searching, and how that habitual state of looking for more keeps us vibrationally locked in lack. We'll unpack the neuroscience of scarcity, and how your brain, when wired for survival, filters out the very abundance that's right in front of you. But for now, reflect on this. You are not separate from what you seek. You are entangled with it, and it's not waiting for you to chase it. It's waiting for you to observe it differently. Because the moment you do, it becomes real. It starts innocently. You want to change your life. You feel the pull of something greater and more love, more purpose, more alignment. So you begin looking. You search for the right tools, the right words, the right energy. You set intentions. You visualize. You affirm, but slowly, quietly, something else creeps in: tension, doubt, exhaustion. The sense that no matter how much you do, you're always just a little behind where you want to be. And you wonder, why isn't it working? The answer lies not in the tools themselves, but in the frequency you carry while using them. You see, most people don't realize that searching, especially when driven by anxiety or fear, carries a specific signal. It says to the quantum field, I don't have what I want. I'm not where I need to be, and that vibration becomes the instruction. That identity of the one who lacks, the one who's trying, is what the field reflects back. The quantum field doesn't respond to words. It responds to states, emotional, energetic, neurological. And when you engage in spiritual practices from the state of something is missing, those practices don't lift you out of lack. They often deepen it, not because the practices are wrong, but because they're being powered by scarcity. This is the frequency trap, the cycle of effort without elevation. From a neuroscience perspective, this makes perfect sense. The brain is designed to prioritize safety over expansion. It's hardwired to scan for danger, to fixate on what's missing, and to run loops of survival, especially if those patterns have been reinforced over time. When you've experienced lack, trauma, or rejection, your nervous system encodes those memories as truth. So even when you declare, I am abundant, your body might be screaming, no, you're not. That internal contradiction creates incoherence, and incoherence blocks the signal. The universe doesn't hear your words. It feels your field, and if your field is split, if your mind says yes but your body says no, the wave doesn't collapse. The potential doesn't become real because there's no clear observer, no consistent frequency, just static. This is where spirituality meets embodiment. You're not here to think your way into a new reality. You're here to become the vibrational match for it. And that means moving out of the identity of the seeker and into the identity of the observer. But to do that, you have to let go of the chase. This doesn't mean you stop growing or that you become passive. It means you stop assuming that what you desire is outside of you. Because as long as you place your goal in the future, you disconnect from the power of the now. And the now is the only place the quantum field responds to. This is why people say, let go to receive. Because letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the frequency of separation. It means no longer identifying as the one who lacks, but as the one who already is. Florence Scovel Shinn said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. That's the observer's posture. Faith not as hope, but as alignment. Not as waiting, but as claiming. You don't affirm because you lack. You affirm because it's true now and your field is catching up. From a spiritual perspective, this is radical self-trust. It means trusting that the version of you who has it all already exists. It means understanding that your job is not to chase that version, but to collapse into it through coherence. And coherence begins when you stop trying to get there and start feeling from there. So here's the energetic pattern we need to interrupt. I want something, so I must look for it. My looking is proof I don't have it. Then I vibrate lack while calling in abundance. The way out of this loop is presence. It's the quiet decision to stop identifying as the one who searches and to start embodying the one who sees. Because the observer doesn't look for something, the observer looks from something. From wholeness, from peace, from trust. The observer knows that what is needed will appear not through effort, but through resonance. That life isn't something to conquer, but something to attune to. And that attunement begins by changing your state, not your surroundings. In the next chapter, we'll give you the tools to make that shift. You'll learn how to step into the observer identity with clarity, how to rewire your field to rest in presence, and how to let go of the habit of lack, not by force but by frequency. But first, let this truth land. The more you search, the more you affirm separation. The more you observe, the more you collapse the timeline. Where it's already true, the difference isn't in the effort, it's in the frequency. There's a moment in every inner journey when you realize your greatest power isn't in changing your circumstances. It's in changing how you relate to them. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You stop trying to fix what was never broken. And in that space of stillness, Something emerges, a deeper presence, a silent intelligence, a version of you that sees without needing to grasp. That version is not a fantasy. It's not something you become someday. It's available right now, as soon as you choose to embody the observer identity. So what is the observer? It's the part of you that exists before the story, before the doubt, before the craving. It's not reactive because it doesn't identify with the temporary. It sees thought but is not thought. It feels emotion but is not ruled by it. It witnesses change but remains unchanged. And in that posture of calm awareness, something miraculous happens. The quantum field begins to organize itself around you. Because when you become still, the universe moves. To embody the observer is not to become passive or detached from life. It is to return to your original position. The one who selects timelines not through striving, but through state. This is where your true magnetic power lives, not in how much you do, but in who you are being while you do it. Let's ground this. If you've been stuck in the loop of searching and of trying to manifest through effort, fear, or desperation, it's not your fault. It's conditioning. Everything around you has trained you to look outside for answers. From childhood, we're taught that satisfaction lives in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next version of success. So even when we wake up spiritually, we often carry the same survival pattern into our practices, chasing a better self, a higher vibration, a future we hope will finally feel like enough. But what if it's already enough? What if the goal was never to get there but to see from here? This is the core of the observer identity. You stop asking, when will it come? And start asking, from where in me does this arise? You're no longer performing for the field. You're resting in alignment and letting the field match your clarity. So how do you step into that state? It begins with presence, with breaking the spell of lack through stillness, with no longer defining yourself by what is missing, but by what is already alive in you. Now, this is not imagination, it's attunement. When you shift from doing to being, you activate the part of you that the quantum field recognizes instantly, the coherent observer. Let's anchor this with a short, powerful practice. You don't need music, incense, or the perfect meditation cushion. You just need yourself and the willingness to stop looking and start seeing. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Let your body relax naturally. Place your awareness just behind your eyes, the seat of the silent observer. Not the thinker, not the doer, just the one who sees. Begin to notice the space between your thoughts. Don't chase silence. Just become aware of the awareness. Feel into the truth. Nothing is missing. You are here. You are whole. You are not waiting for anything. You are watching everything. Now repeat silently. I choose to observe from wholeness. Let that frequency settle. Don't try to feel anything. Just be the one who sees without needing. Open your eyes slowly. Stay with that presence. When you begin to live from that place, not occasionally but consistently, the outer world begins to soften. The noise of urgency fades. The pressure dissolves. And what remains is clarity. Not because everything outside changed, but because the observer returned to the throne. You're not chasing the future anymore. You're collapsing the future into now by the stillness of your being. That's why this moment matters, because this isn't just a video. It's a shift, a line in the sand between who you were and who you're choosing to be. And that choice begins here, with a declaration. Comment below, I choose to observe from wholeness. Let it be a signal to the field and to yourself that you're no longer vibrating from lack. You've remembered who you are, and from that place nothing is missing, nothing is waiting, everything is unfolding. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the energetic consequences of this identity. You'll see how the observer doesn't just witness reality, they reshape it. We'll explore the magnetic calm that draws synchronicity, clarity, and flow, and why non-reactivity is the most powerful creative stance in the universe. But for now, stay here because the observer is already home. There's a kind of power that doesn't shout, that doesn't chase, that doesn't rush to prove, to grasp, to control. It just is a calm, certain, quietly radiant. And yet this stillness draws more transformation, more synchronicity, and more fulfillment than 1,000 hours of effort ever could. This is the power of the observer, the energetic signature of someone who no longer asks, when will it come? Because they're too busy being the version of themselves who already has it. This is what it means to become magnetic. Let's be clear. Magnetism isn't about charisma. It's not about being extroverted, attractive, or high energy. True magnetism is coherence. It's when your thoughts, emotions, and identity are no longer at war, and your field begins to emit a clear, harmonious signal into the quantum. That signal says, "This is who I am. This is what I hold. This is what I'm available for." And the universe, precise and impersonal, responds accordingly. You don't pull things toward you with desire. You attract them through clarity. This is what Abraham Hicks meant when they said, "When you stop needing it to happen, it happens." Not because you gave up, but because you got aligned. You released the noise. You stopped sending mixed signals to the field. And in that quiet clarity, space opened for manifestation. Think of your vibration like music. When you're anxious, needy, or overthinking, the melody becomes distorted, the rhythm is off, and the universe can't harmonize with that. But when you enter the stillness of the observer, the music smooths out. It becomes beautiful, resonant, easy to echo, and reality begins to dance with you. This is the great secret of quantum manifestation. What you desire already exists, not in the future, but in the field. And your job is not to chase it, but to tune to it. When your energy becomes a match, manifestation becomes inevitable. It's not about effort, it's about frequency fidelity, holding the signal long enough for reality to catch up. Joe Dispenza calls this living as if. You don't wait for the thing to arrive to feel gratitude, peace, confidence. You generate those states now, because they're not emotions. They're codes. They're the passwords that unlock access to specific timelines. And timelines don't respond to what you want. They respond to what you're being. So, let's connect the dots. When you sit in the observer identity, when you no longer react but respond with presence, your nervous system calms. Your electromagnetic field stabilizes, your brain and heart enter coherence, and suddenly you're no longer a scattered signal. You become a beacon, and the field listens. You begin to notice something strange and beautiful. People shift around you, conversations change, ideas land. You stop chasing and opportunities come to you. You stop proving and people feel your authority. You stop searching and life starts revealing, not because you got better, but because you got clearer. Your presence becomes the invitation. Your calm becomes the portal, and the things you once tried so hard to manifest begin to arrive with ease, not as rewards, but as reflections. Reflections of who you've become. This is the opposite of striving. It's spiritual gravity, and it cannot be faked. You can't try to be calm while vibrating desperation. The field picks up the truth. That's why embodiment matters. Because once the identity of the observer becomes normal, not just in your mind, but in your body, the timeline aligns itself. So the question is no longer, how do I get what I want? The question becomes, can I stay coherent long enough to let it arrive? Can I stay grounded in the frequency of already? Can I hold the vibration of peace even while reality is catching up? Can I remain the observer when the old story tries to hook me again? Because if you can, you win. Not because you forced anything, but because you remembered. The field doesn't respond to force. It responds to certainty. And certainty doesn't come from knowing the outcome. It comes from knowing yourself. You are no longer here to convince the universe. You are here to match it. In the next and final chapter, we'll close this journey with a reminder of what has always been true. You are not the seeker. You are the answer. You are the observer who collapses possibility into form, not by chasing what's missing, but by seeing from wholeness. Because when you stop searching, you remember, you were the signal all along. There's a point in every seeker's journey when the questions begin to dissolve. Not because they've all been answered, but because the need to ask disappears. The chasing softens. The proving fades. The striving dissolves like mist beneath the morning sun. And what remains is presence. A quiet, steady awareness whispering, "It was always you. That moment is now." Because if you've come this far, not just with your ears, but with your heart, you've already felt it. The shift. The realization that your power was never in the techniques, never in the effort, the rituals, the constant doing. It was always in being, in who you are when you finally stopped trying to become something else. You were never missing anything. You were never broken. You were never waiting. You were always the observer, not the one frantically painting life with borrowed brushes, but the one who sees, who selects, who chooses, the one who knows that reality doesn't change because you chase it. It changes because you collapse into a new identity, and from that identity, the world bends to match your vibration. So look clearly. The version of you who is at peace already exists. The version of you who is in love with life and already exists. The version of you who moves through each day with purpose, abundance, and clarity already exists. They are not far away. They are not future. They are not fantasy. They are frequency. And when you stop searching, when you rest in the truth of I am, you begin to match that frequency. Not by striving to be more, but by softening into what's already here. You don't need more to become more. You need less noise, less resistance, less searching. Because the field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe you already are. And the observer knows, I don't need to become. I already am. This is the end of the chase, and the beginning of true power. But this isn't where it ends, because this isn't just another piece of content to consume. It's a blueprint for embodiment, a new lens through which to see everything you once believed was beyond you. And if you're ready to go deeper, not in theory, but in frequency, we created something for you. A guide, a portal, a quantum invitation. In the pinned comment below, you'll find a link to my ebook, Awaken Your Quantum Power. It's not a book. It's a frequency tool. A way to help you stabilize this shift, unlock deeper coherence, and live each day as the observer, not the seeker. The link is there because you don't need another strategy. You need to remember the truth that changes everything. What you've been looking for is what you already are. So take a breath. Look around, let go of the search, and watch what begins to arrive. Not because you needed it, but because you finally aligned with it. This is the frequency we live in now. This is the community we're building. If this message resonates with your soul, you know what to do. Subscribe. Amplify your frequency with us. Comment below, I choose to observe from wholeness. Speak your shift into the field, because this isn't just a video. It's a new timeline, and you, in a calm, clear, complete, are already ready for it.